Netflix is a terrible producer of anime. The reason isn't due to budget restraints, is that they want to make it cheaply as possible just for the sake of saying we did this or we have this on their streaming service. And it seems like every multi-million-dollar corporation is doing this just to get a cut of the anime pie since it's more mainstream than ever. The example we're using today is a popular series called Eden Zero and how Netflix screwed up the show. When researching this topic, I found that the studio that Netflix hired is called JC Staffs, which also made the last season of Fairy Tail. And after learning that, I understand why the last season of Fairy Tail seems so odd compared to previous seasons. I got the same feeling when watching Eden Zero. Both anime were not adapted well from the manga, but this is also the same studio that made the anime adaptation of Rent a Girlfriend, which is good, so I have no idea where it went wrong. And now let's go straight into why Eden Zero is a bad anime adaptation. Honestly, the first episode called Into the Sky where Cherry Blossoms Father was pretty good as the first episode of the series. I didn't have any problems with it. What I didn't like was episode 2, because in the episode we have Shiki, Rebecca, and Happy running around the Blue Garden, and this is where my problem with the whole anime adaptation lies. The tone and mood feels too happy and less serious from what is shown in the manga. And episodes 3 to 5 is where we meet Weiss, a younger version of him on the planet no more 50 years in the past, and there wasn't a serious tone. Like, even though robots are like humans or living beings, they're still treated like inanimate objects that get thrown around or get thrown away when their purpose is completed or they're no longer fun around to play with. Episodes 6 and 7 were pretty generic in my opinion. Even though it did get through the plot points shown in the manga, it just didn't have the same feel. I recommend reading it yourself, especially when there is a fight. The studio appears to be doing the bare minimum. It's also important to note that the manga shows robots having complex human-like emotions, and this gets into my opinion on episode 8, where after landing on Blue Garden, Rebecca gets captured to be sold on planet Gills. The scene does not evoke the same emotions when I got reading the manga. An example of a scene evoking the same strong feelings would be in Fairy Tail when Lucy's dad orders the Phantom Guild to get her. Fairy Tail puts everything on line just to keep her, and after Lucy sees how much trouble she's causing the guild, she thinks about going back to stop the conflict. Episodes 9 and 12 felt pretty flat in terms of animation, because it seemed like the studio was just copying and pasting from the manga, and it didn't use any of its strengths in animation. The biggest disappointment was in the fight scenes in these episodes. Shiki and Jin's fight didn't have the same dynamic as depicted in the manga. For example, when Jin was crushing Sister's head, it just didn't have the same feel as it did in the manga, and it just seemed like an afterthought to the animators. During episodes 13 and 16, I didn't like the extremely corny lines that we said. Looking back at the manga, it seems like the studio just added them in for no reason. Aside from that, I have the same problems in these episodes as I do with the other episodes, because the animation is bare bare bones and the serious moments in the show are just not as serious as it is in manga. A good example of this is what happens during Herman's backstory, where she really trusted humans but in the end got betrayed, tortured, and in prison. And I think they could have done a lot better job showing Herman's emotional turmoil in this scene. For episodes 17 and 18, I'll keep it short because in this section, one of the main antagonists, Draken, doesn't seem as terrifying as he does in the manga. In the manga, we actually see this guy owe money into him, and he actually looks bloody up, unlike in the anime. In the anime, he seems kind of jokey. An example of this is one of the systems telling him that the word he's using was offensive to a certain group of people. Draken's whole thing is that he forces people in debt and turns them into his personal piggy bank. Why should he care about people's feeling? And the other thing that bothered me in this section was the fight scene, because it just was lacking all in the same areas that I mentioned earlier, and it was just really disappointing as someone who's a fan of this manga. Episodes 19 to 25, this section really breaks it here for me, because the emotions I felt in the manga, joy, intrigue, and sorrow, were felt when Madame Kurenai was defeated by Shiki and was brought forth to Harma, Draken looking to steal the Eden Zero, and the mysterious captain that they pick up on the way to the Sunju planet, who wore the words Eden Zero on his wrist. And when Herma's master, what we were looking for the entire time, was dead, trying to find Herma's mother, but was betrayed by Madame Kurenai. But the anime on their head makes me feel nothing, especially during the reveals of Herma's mother, Draken's involvement in the fight, and Madame Kurenai's defeat, and Rebecca's Evilgirl's power, Cat Leaper. there were a lot more mysteries surrounding Ifrigir in the manga than the anime. It makes it seem like it came out of nowhere. And that concludes my review on Eden Zero. Sorry it took so long and it came out so short. Just that things came up by school. But I'm still working on videos, so until next time.